Everyone thought Emma Parker was the quiet, harmless girl who sat alone at the back of the class, too shy to even raise her hand. But when the school's most feared bully, Tyler Briggs, shoved her into the lockers, smirking like he owned the place, something in her eyes changed. 10 seconds later, the entire hallway stood frozen, unable to believe what they'd just seen. Emma had always been invisible, and that was exactly how she liked it. She was the kind of student who could sit in the corner of the cafeteria, unnoticed, dressed in oversized sweaters with loose waves of hair often hiding part of her face. She walked with soft steps, as if not wanting to disturb the air around her, spoke only when spoken to, and never drew attention to herself. What no one knew, not her teachers, not her classmates, not even the guidance counselor who tried to get her to open up, was that Emma had a past she was desperate to keep buried. She wasn't just a quiet girl. She was hiding something that made her dangerous in ways no one could imagine. That morning, the hallways of Ridgeway High buzzed with the usual pre-class chaos, groups of friends laughing by the lockers, football players tossing a ball back and forth, and the loudest voice belonging to Tyler, the undisputed king of intimidation. Tyler wasn't just an average bully. He thrived on public humiliation, measuring his power by how many people looked away when he entered a room. He had a following: 3 boys who acted like his shadows, laughing at every cruel joke and joining in on every shove. He'd targeted dozens of students over the years, but until that day, Emma had never been one of them. She wasn't worth his attention. That changed when Emma accidentally bumped into him near the science lab, barely brushing her shoulder against his. Tyler stopped dead, glaring at her like she'd committed a personal insult. "Watch where you're going, freak," he spat, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. Emma froze, mumbled a quick sorry, and tried to step around him, but Tyler wasn't interested in letting it go. He grabbed her backpack strap, yanking her backward so hard she slammed against the lockers. Laughter rippled through the hall. "What's in here?" Tyler taunted, tugging at her bag. "Your diary? Some love letters? Or maybe just snacks you're too scared to eat in front of people?" Emma's face burned, but she held tight to her backpack, refusing to let go. "Please," she said quietly, "don't." That one word seemed to fuel Tyler's need for a scene. He smirked at his friends, then shoved her again, harder. "What are you gonna do about it, huh? Run to the principal? Cry?" Emma's eyes flickered, and for the first time, she looked straight at him, not with fear, but with a cold, calculating gaze that made Tyler hesitate, just for a fraction of a second. Then it happened. In less than 10 seconds, Emma twisted, her wrist free, stepped to the side, and with a speed no one could process, swept her foot behind Tyler's ankle, sending him crashing to the ground. His backpack flew off, scattering books across the hallway. The thud echoed, followed by gasps from the crowd. Tyler scrambled to get up, but Emma stood over him, her voice low enough that only he and those closest could hear. "Touch me again, and you'll regret it in ways you can't imagine." Something in her tone made even his friends step back. Tyler's bravado faltered, but instead of apologizing, he stood, face red, and barked, "You think you're tough? This isn't over." He stormed off with his crew trailing behind, but the hallway buzzed with whispers. Nobody had ever made Tyler look that small before. What the students didn't know was that Emma had been trained in Krav Maga by her uncle, a private security contractor, since she was 6. She hadn't used those skills in years, but old instincts don't fade. She'd hoped never to reveal them, not in this quiet town where she was trying to start over. But Tyler's shove had triggered something deep inside her, something that said she'd never be a victim again. That afternoon, rumors spread like wildfire. Some said Emma was a black belt. Others claimed she was an undercover cop's daughter. Tyler, humiliated, was determined to get revenge and wasn't going to do it alone. Over the next few days, strange things began happening. Emma's locker. was vandalized, and anonymous notes appeared on her desk with messages like, "You're dead, and watch your back." She ignored them, but the tension grew. Then came Friday's school assembly in the gym. Emma slipped in quietly, sitting in the back, but she felt eyes on her. Tyler, a few rows ahead, whispered to his friends. Halfway through the principal's speech, the gym lights went out, followed by a loud crash near the back door and a scream. When the lights returned, one of Tyler's friends was sprawled on the floor, clutching his leg. Nobody could explain what happened. Emma hadn't moved from her seat, but she knew Tyler was testing her, pushing her into a corner where she'd have to react. And if he kept pushing, he'd find out just how wrong he'd been about her. That night, Emma walked home alone. The streets quiet. Halfway down Maple Avenue, she heard footsteps behind her and turned to see Tyler and two of his friends blocking the sidewalk. "You embarrassed me in front of the whole school," Tyler said. "I think it's time you learned your place." Emma tightened her grip on her bag. "I'm not looking for trouble," she said. "Too bad," Tyler sneered, lunging at her. Emma's body reacted before her mind could plan. She sidestepped, caught his wrist, twisted it downward, and used his momentum to flip him onto the concrete. The sound of him hitting the ground froze his friends momentarily, but the taller one rushed forward with a growl. Emma ducked under his swing, jabbed an elbow into his ribs, and swept his legs from under him. Both boys were groaning on the ground, and Tyler was too stunned to move. "Walk away, Tyler," Emma said calmly, her voice measured, just as her uncle had taught her. "Tonight's your last chance." But Tyler wasn't the kind to walk away. Rage replaced his embarrassment, and he scrambled to his feet, grabbing a broken bottle from the ground. Emma's eyes darkened. This wasn't just bullying anymore. It was dangerous. Her stance shifted, weight balanced, every muscle prepared. She didn't back up. She stepped forward. Tyler swung the bottle wildly, but Emma deflected it with a sharp block, then snapped her leg up in a controlled kick, sending the bottle clattering away. Before he could react, she had him pinned against a brick wall, her forearm pressing just enough to make breathing difficult, her other hand gripping his jacket collar. "I said walk away," she repeated, her voice low and deadly. A car's headlights swept over them, and Emma stepped back, letting him go. Tyler stumbled, humiliated again, and his friends grabbed him as they ran off. Emma thought it was over, but she was wrong. The next Monday, she was called to the principal's office, where a man in a dark suit introduced himself as Agent Reeves from the FBI. "Emma Parker," he said, "you've been keeping a low profile. Until last week." He slid a photograph across the desk, an image of Emma from years ago at a martial arts competition in another state. "We've been looking for you," he continued, "not because you're in trouble, but because your uncle has gone missing." Emma's pulse quickened. She hadn't spoken to her uncle in over a year. "What does this have to do with me?" she asked. Reeves leaned in. Before he disappeared, he left a note with one name on it, yours. Suddenly, the pieces began falling into place. The reason her uncle had trained her so hard, why he'd told her to stay alert and trust no one. Tyler's attacks were just bad timing, but something much bigger was coming. That night, Emma noticed a black SUV parked half a block from her house, its engine idling. She ducked into a side street. Confirming her suspicion, it was following her. Instead of running, she walked straight toward it. The tinted window rolled down, and a woman's voice said, "Get in." "We don't have much time." Against her instincts, Emma got in. The woman handed her a file containing coded messages. Photos of men she didn't recognize, and a picture of her uncle with "Trust no one" scrawled across the bottom. "Your uncle was part of something dangerous," the woman said, "and now they think you know where he is." Over the next week, Emma's life flipped upside down. Tyler faded into the background, too afraid to come near her, but she hardly noticed. People followed her, strange packages appeared in her mailbox, and one night, her bedroom window was pried open while she slept. Whoever was after her thought she had something they wanted, and maybe she did. The last gift her uncle had given her was a silver pendant she wore daily. One night she dropped it, and it cracked open, revealing a tiny flash drive. When she plugged it into her laptop, what she saw made her blood run cold. Names, dates, coordinates, all tied to a covert operation gone wrong. People on that list were either missing or dead, and now her name was there too. She realized she had only one option: find her uncle before those hunting her did. But she couldn't do it alone. The last person she expected to help was Tyler Briggs. She approached him outside the gym after school, and though he looked startled, she got to the point. "I need someone who knows how to watch people without being noticed." "You're good at that." Tyler hesitated, pride warring with curiosity, but he agreed. Over the next few days, they worked together, Tyler shadowing suspicious cars, Emma decoding files. Their tension shifted from hostility to an uneasy alliance. Then came the night they tracked a lead to an abandoned rail yard outside town. They found her uncle, injured but alive, tied up in a shipping container. Freeing him triggered an alarm, and armed men swarmed the yard. Emma and Tyler fought their way out, her uncle covering them despite his injuries. When it was over, the men were gone, the FBI was on its way, and Emma's uncle was safe for now. As dawn broke, Emma stood by the tracks, exhausted but victorious. Tyler looked at her, shaking his head. "You're not who I thought you were," he said. She smiled. Faintly, nobody ever is. By the time school resumed, the story circulating was that Tyler and Emma had taken down a gang of dangerous criminals. Nobody believed it, of course, but nobody messed with Emma again. And Tyler never laid a hand on anyone smaller than him again. Having learned the hard way that sometimes the quietest people are the ones you should fear the most. If you love shocking stories where the underdog turns the tables, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss the next twist. Where in the USA are you watching this from? I'd love to know.